Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Hello, enlightened investors. Dr. Allen here with Anthony Metzger. And what an inspirational story he has to share with us as he zoomed from 0 to 218 apartment units under management in just a year and a half. Welcome, Anthony.
Dr. Allen, appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be on, and thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, Anthony. So just tell us a little brief summary about who you are and how it is you got into multifamily.
Sure. So, like Dr. Allen said, my name's Anthony Metzger, and I recently got into multifamily investing about 2 years ago. I'm 31 years old today, and so...
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. So, it's been a fun ride, and just I like to say I'm new at it, even though it's been a couple of years, but got a long road ahead of me, so...
that's pretty new. That's pretty
right.
new here.
Yep.
Well, talk to us a little bit about who you are as a person. So let's go back to, it could be your childhood, but go back to a formative experience in your life that has kind of made all the difference in who you are today.
Sure. So I was born and raised here in St. Paul, Minnesota, and at the age of 18, when everyone was going to college, I actually ended up going over to France and studied wine. So I studied to be a sommelier, worked as a sommelier, got into winemaking, worked at a couple chateaus over there. And then from there, throughout my 20s, pretty much, I was just that guy who was traveling around the world, making wine and kind of living the dream in that sense, just traveling and making great memories. But so that's really kind of how I developed into a person and kind of developed me into being an entrepreneur, which I am today. And so that really had a big impact on who I've become, and that's a big part of my past. Moving forward, when I came back from all the travels and everything, it was great looking back on it, but now it's time to look forward, and what am I going to do? Because I can't just travel forever and make wine. So I started exploring some different options and came across an educational program that taught people how to underwrite multifamily deals, because I read, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book and started getting interested in that type of stuff is business, entrepreneurship, but then real estate is kind of where I decided I want to go. This is the path I decided I want to go down. So a couple years ago, got educated, bought into one of the programs. They taught me how to underwrite, and from there I started underwriting deals and looking for a deal to find that met a sponsor's criteria. So I partnered up with my first deal with a sponsor, and that's how I got into my first deal and into real estate.
Well, in your travels, you were making wine. How were you financing your travels?
It was fairly affordable to do it, because when I go there and make wine, I actually was getting paid. So it was pretty much just covering traveling costs. I would work here. Otherwise, I was still like in the college days. My parents would help me out. So, it was almost like backpacking style. So you did it as affordably as you can. When I got to a certain place, I'd be there for a few months during the harvest. Actually, I was in the winery, but it was during harvest time, and got compensated for that. So I got paid while I was over there working. So that's actually why I was able to do so much traveling, because when I'd actually travel, I'd get paid while I was over there doing it. So, yeah.
So you actually were contracting with wine producers before you went to the places, and so
right.
you had a job actually to go to.
Yes. Yep.
So where all did you go to?
So I made wine in France. I made wine in Germany, and then my studies, I was in New Zealand and South Africa. And then I traveled and did like a video series tour. And for that, I went to places like Armenia, Malta, Hungary. So Yeah. So those are the countries that I really hit on. And then I was out in California for a few years making wine and going to the college out there. So yeah, we were doing a bit of traveling while I was,
For
in my
sure.
20s there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were they making wine in all of those countries that you were doing the video
We
photography or?
Yeah. Oh, for the video
Yeah.
series. Yeah. Yep. So if you actually go to YouTube right now, you can see one of my videos
Uh-huh.
called South Africa wine documentary, the Pink Grape. And then the other ones haven't been fully produced, but yeah, each and every single one of those countries I went to focus on the winemaking process because each had something unique to offer. So yeah.
I'm surprised they're making wine in all of those countries. I
Mhm.
mean, I knew South Africa had an ideal climate for that.
Yep.
And I'm a little surprised about Germany. I know they make beer, but I didn't know
Yeah.
they were so big on making wine.
Right.
Um, so so I guess the wines are different from each region in different country. Talk to us a little bit about that. That's not what this program is about, but I'm just a little
Yeah.
curious about it. So,
Oh, sure. Well, Malta, for example, I went there and checked out some of their wineries. Malta is a little island nation in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea.
right.
So their wines are definitely different because the winds that go across the Mediterranean, they're actually what they do is they blow up all the humidity from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mist from the ocean actually sprinkles across the vineyards.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you actually pick the grapes and then it dries, you taste them, they're actually slightly salty because of the seawater, the salt water that would actually kind of mist across the vineyards and it creates a bit of saltiness to the grapes. And the because of that, there's so much sun, the grapes mature much more. So
Mm-hmm.
that actually creates more sugar within the grape. So the alcohol content is higher.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's unique to Malta and other places as well, that other, coastal vineyards and stuff like that. Germany, for example, they are definitely big into the white wines just because, see, the thing that makes a country different with their wines is the climates and the soil. That's really the
Right.
big things. Then
Mm-hmm.
everyone's got their own ways of making wine, but what's really unique to each wine would be the soil and the climate. So you get different soil types in different countries, different climates in different countries. So yeah.
Well, here you are, this winemaker, this young man winemaker, and you decide, well, this is pretty cool, but I don't see a whole lot of future here. So, what brought you to that crossroads?
Well, when I came home, I was like, let's say 28ish. I was right in that age, and looking into the future, wondering, okay. See, the thing is with me, I really want to get rich. It's funny. As funny as that sounds, I want to be very, very rich, wealthy, the whole deal. And I didn't see a future in that for me in the wine business. I
Mm-hmm.
see in the future once I get some money or get to raising some more capital, maybe I got some entrepreneurial ideas for the wine industry. So I may touch on that and go back to it in the future, near future, maybe even. So we'll see. But something that was more realistic, something I could take action on today that's kind of proven, real estate really stuck out to me in that sense. And the fact that you can get educated in real estate fairly easily. I mean, there's a lot of programs, coaches, there's a lot of avenues that you can go down and find success in.
Mm-hmm.
And in the wine industry, it's not built up like that to go and grow wealth. It's more like get a job, maybe buy a vineyard, this or that. Obviously you can go and raise money and go start a big brand or company. You can do that in any industry, but real estate, the path really seems very straightforward. And there's a lot of different ways to learn and get mentored and all that. So it did it made more sense to maybe start pursuing that
Mm-hmm.
path.
So you made the decision to go into real estate, and it was an intentional decision. You got some training, some mentoring. And so your first deal, you found a sponsor. Talk to us a little bit about that process
Sure.
of connecting with the sponsor and building the relationship so that you could actually make make that work between you and the sponsor.
Absolutely. So it was a couple years ago. I think I was on my couch when my younger brother approached me and said, "Have you ever heard of a man named Michael Blanc?" And I said no. And he goes, "Well, he's a successful real estate investor and he's got a podcast and he's selling a program called the Ultimate Guide to Investing," something along those lines. And with the program, what it is he educates you on how to find and underwrite deals according to his investment criteria. So he trains you, in a sense, to find deals. And then he says, once you complete the course, if you find a deal that meets his criteria, you can bring the deal to him.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, this was kind of perfect because I didn't have any investors, no experience raising money. So I wasn't able to, go out and do my own deal and raise money for it. And what I can do is I had time to offer. So time after work where I could go home, make a home office and start looking for a deal to bring to him that meets his criteria. So that's really how it started. I bought into his program, got educated, learned, found out exactly what it is he wants, what he's looking for. And then I just hit the computer and hit the road looking for a deal that met his criteria. And did that until I found success, which took me about 18 months to find the right deal that met all of his criteria. So right now it's difficult to find a deal so that meets this certain criteria. So it's actually very difficult to find a deal that meets this criteria. But I spent 18 months not being paid. This is after work, going home and just sitting at my computer and analyzing deals, punching them into the Excel spreadsheets, calling up property managers, going on apartments.com, looking what comp rents are going for. So all this detailed analysis that goes into underwriting and creating a profit and loss statement that goes out 5 years. People, we look at the T12, but part of what we do for underwriting is look at what does the future of this deal look like? What can we get in rents? What can we do for the expenses? What's our rent or our rent growth going to be? So all these different things. But yeah, so 18 months of looking at deals, getting rejected on all of them, until I found one. So now I found this deal that met his criteria. What I did is I packaged it up, made sure I could answer every question I knew was coming to me. And I reached out to the team, Michael Blanc and Nighthawk Equity, and pitched them the deal. They received it, looked at it. I answered all their questions. They had a private meeting, got back to me a few days later and said, "We like this deal, we accept it, and we're going to pursue it with you." So that's how we got to that point. And then from there began the due diligence period, and it ended up working out. Everything checked off, and we closed on the deal last August, and that was 218 units. So that was my first deal. It was 218 units. We paid over $11 million for it. Big deal. It was totally out of my state. We're down in Arkansas with this deal. So there's a lesson to be learned in a sense, because I had zero experience other than getting educated in this program I paid $1,000 or $2,000 for, so I didn't have a track record. I couldn't leverage their name. What I did is I got on some brokers lists, and I just started analyzing every deal they would send. They just email blast these deals out. So I was just going through all these deals, analyzing them, and until I found one. I just said I'm just going to keep doing it until I find one, or until I find another better entrepreneurial idea to pursue. So,
well, that took a lot of tenacity and persistence. Although 18 years is not a long time to find a deal, even for some experienced individuals, because, like you said, it's just really a tough market these days for finding.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of places for sale. There's just not many that meet an investor's criteria.
Right.
So tell us about where did you find the tenacity and the persistence?
Well, like I said earlier, like when I was young and growing up, even in high school, I remember driving around. I just always really wanted to be rich, and I really wanted to have a lot of wealth and a lot of money. And when I was younger, yeah, the excuse was I want to be cool, I want to have nice things. But now that I am where I am today and the age I'm in today, people think that's could be a selfish thing or a greedy thing to say. But the way I see it, the reason why I want that success, that financial success, is because with that comes the freedom of time. So if I can create this wealth, then I get to own my own time, and it's a lifestyle after that. So I'm making a lifestyle decision, and to do that, I need to get rich and wealthy, especially if I want to help other people and help my family and all that stuff. So a lot of people talk about when you get into this for like 18 months of looking at deals, you're not on a clock, you're doing it, you're working for investments for equity, you're not working for a punch clock. So a lot of people will say you got to find out what your why is. Why are you doing this? And dive deep into your why. I agree with that. I do that, but there's almost something more that you need to do than just ask yourself why, because motivation can die off pretty quick. You can get started, be extremely motivated, and you know why, a million whys you want to do it, but that will fade away. It's just so tough when you're working for like 12 months and you don't get anything that works.
Right.
But to keep going, what I say is not just why, but wake up. So I say you got to wake up. You got to find like your spirituality. You got to find your bigger purpose. You got to really like focus and change your mindset in order to pursue and find a deal that's really good, that meets all the criteria right now, or in anything, even if you want to go raise money or whatever. So it's really like changing your mindset. And I like saying wake up, because I just read Robert Kiyosaki's new book, Fake, and some other spiritual books where they talk about waking up and personal development and stuff like this. And so that's really how you can change your mindset for almost the rest of your life, as opposed to just, how can I get super motivated today? Oh, I want to buy, what's my why? A really nice house, food for my family. Yeah. But those things can be answered with a job. If you want to change like your lifestyle and everything like that, and change pretty much your outcome, you gotta tell yourself, wake up and start opening up your eyes and your mind and figuring out exactly, not just why, but try and find the bigger picture in life.
So what is the bigger picture for Anthony?
So mine, I got a bunch of different things. A lot of stuff's not even on paper, it's just ideas that float around. But it is that success where I can all of a sudden own my own time, the freedom of time, so that I can do what I want with my time. And then it does go to, and I do say that I do look at the why, and the why is also, family, my future kids, future wife, preparing myself and my friends and family for certain situations that may come up that no one's predicted, so that's all part of my motivation. And the wake up that I see is like the whole system that we're in today. How long can it be sustained for? Is there some trillion, quadrillion dollar crash coming? There's all these uncertain things out there that nobody knows about. So it's like I'm trying to wake up to prepare myself for anything down the road, health, anything like that. And that's kind of like my wake up sense. And then living, we're on this, planet flying through space, and we get a little tiny speck of time on this planet. And so it's like, what do I want to do with that time? Stuff like that. And so, trying to find your spirituality and waking up to these different ideas and looking at things differently. That's kind of all to prepare myself and enjoy and help others while we're here. So that's kind of my wake up why answer.
Well, in this 18-month process, which was arduous in terms of analyzing property after property after property, and just analyzing one property, since I've done it myself, I know it's just not a pleasant process. Although there are people who actually enjoy that,
Right.
if you can believe that. But I'm certainly not one of those people. But beyond all of that arduousness, all of that, extraordinarily boring aspects of that, there's also that aspect of when you are totally involved in that to the degree that you were totally completely submerged in that. There was also this aspect of loneliness because you didn't have and you couldn't have had much of a social life, and you were doing this independently. You weren't working with a partner, you weren't working with a group, or you were doing it all on your own. How were you dealing with that, the loneliness through that time?
Um, it's like a lot of people actually will go home after work and just like watch TV or play video games. Well, my video game was analyzing deals. So it's not like I totally isolated myself from the world. So I would still go on Sundays and hang out with my family. I'd go out on Saturday nights with my friends. I try, and then I do have the day job. So it's really just a few hours in the evening. And instead of watching TV, instead of playing video games, I was just analyzing deals. And while I'm doing it, it's actually kind of exciting and fun if you start to get close to one. All of a sudden, if I find a deal that seems like, hey, we may have a shot, all of a sudden I get excited about it and stuff. So it's not, it's not like I'm at home 8-10 hours a day, totally isolated. It's where there is that loneliness. It's more of I'm doing it, after work when other people are watching TV and other people are playing video games. And then I still have my social life. I'm not totally isolating myself, sacrificing every single aspect because, otherwise I don't think it would be healthy if,
Right.
I think you do have to, because there is that bigger picture too, that we all got to keep an eye out for. So I never really had a problem with that.
So talk to us a little bit about a major setback, major disappointment. All successful people have got to learn to deal with that. So what was a big setback for you?
So keeping in the real estate side of things, I had a 88 unit deal that I got very close on, probably maybe 9 months after looking for a deal. So, or after I got started. So, 9 months in, all of a sudden I got close to this 88 unit deal. And I got really excited about it. The thing is I got once we got close to this 88 unit deal, I was all in. I was like, this is ours. I was already like looking at how much money I'm going to make and this and that and getting all excited about it. Totally emotionally put myself into this deal thinking this is the one. And I even drove down there out of state and walked the property, met with property managers. We had an agreement on the sale price, an LOI. But then the seller decided he didn't want to move forward with the sale because he didn't like our terms in the purchase agreement. And that was in our purchase agreements, we asked for a 30-day extension in case anything pops up. We need a little extra time. That way we're not, putting ourselves into a corner. He didn't like that. My sponsor didn't like that. And no, we just couldn't meet in the middle, and he totally pulled the deal. And after we lost that deal, I was like totally like, sunk. I was like, oh my goodness, we were so close. And then, mentally I was like, oh my God, we got this deal. This is incredible. Especially, just after getting it started. So that was a big fall, losing that deal for sure. And it took a couple months after that until I looked at another deal because I started questioning. I was like, is this where, like, there's so many moving parts. Is it even realistic to get a deal? Like, there's so many different things that could happen. I mean, you get so close to one, you do so much work, all to find out that, this one thing in a purchase agreement won't work, done deal. So it's like, what are the odds you can actually do a deal? So that was a big fall for sure. That one. Yep.
Yeah. Well, you said it took a couple of months to get your motivation back. How did you deal with that?
Right. I looked at all the other options and I looked at my sponsor. The nice thing that did happen from that is I created a relationship with my sponsor, with the guy I was going to be bringing a deal to, which I didn't have before. So I looked at it afterwards. I was like, you know what? We lost that deal, but I am actually closer to a deal today now than I was even before that loss. Because what happened is I created a relationship with the sponsor. We got on Zoom calls, telephone calls, I got a better understanding of what they're looking for, all this new information that I didn't have before. And I'm thinking like, you know what? And then I kept listening to Michael's podcast, and those really kept motivating me. And I was like, you know what? I'm not giving up on this. Plus, if I look at my other options, there's not much there right now. So I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. Now I'm closer. I got a better relationship with the sponsor. And so that's kind of how I pulled myself out of it. I was like, you know, I'm closer now. I'm motivated again. And then I just next deal I got, I just started looking at it again. It was that simple. But yeah, just had to get over it and think of what was positive about it, as opposed to it's impossible. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of the time, Anthony. I appreciate you sharing your very fascinating story here. Before we go, can you tell our viewers and listeners how they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So my email address is anthony.metzger@yahoo.com. So feel free to just shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into anything, that you have any questions about. So yeah, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
All righty. Well, Anthony, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. It has been a pleasure getting to know you, and thank you for sharing the ups and downs of the journey of getting into that first deal, which is one of the most difficult.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.